I just went inside to speak to the reception at Princess Royal University Hospital, to speak to the reception. I've come. So she had me basically from April 2020 to May 2020. She had me basically detained in this place, or she didn't help me. Essentially, I was detained in the place, and I was taking aripiprazole for all the time that I was here. I think 3 times a day, which left me shaky. And then when I left, I basically had to wrestle with them. And this is why I said that the NHS doesn't have a department for people who need professional counselling, and that is all. That who don't need drugs, who don't need medicine, they need professional counselling, which was what was advised to me by the nurses. But because of the incidents, the circumstances that I was brought in, I was forced to take this drug, and because I had lied about the reason why I was there. I lied about the incident, and the doctors were suspicious that I was lying because the story didn't match up, essentially. And basically they said, your story doesn't sound convincing. You're saying it's work related, and I don't see how this, with what you've been doing, with what the picture, the video that your mum shared, and the incident that you're explaining, I don't know how these two things are related. And they were right. I was lying. It wasn't. It was to do with her, and it was to do with her abuse. It's to do with her years of abuse and basically the atmosphere of the house. The house was swarming with my mum's delusions, and my sister, who hasn't been diagnosed, but she's autistic. She's been cruel since she was young, and she's been showing signs of cruelty without any reason since she was young. She bullied me throughout my whole time as a child and as a teenager. And she's even in her 30s, she's still wicked to me. She's another one who doesn't have a partner and doesn't have a lot of friends. She doesn't have any boyfriends or anything. She's essentially undiagnosed autistic. So I was detained here. They put a label. They said I was bipolar because they had to find a reason to detain me. They had to put a diagnosis on me whilst I was detained here. They said bipolar disorder, which it isn't. And because it was bipolar disorder, I was given a drug which I wasn't properly assessed, essentially, and left me shaky and quaky and didn't resolve any of my issues. I was working from home under these medications, and then I was also being taken back and forth by my mum, who loves hysteria and who loves abuse, to be encouraged to be going back and forth to health centres when she should have been looking for a professional counsellor for me, and she should have been looking for social housing for me or private housing for me. She should have been aiding my independence. She should have been aided my care. Instead, she was more concerned with taking me back and forth to different mental wards around London. It was Princess Royal Hospital, it was Queen Mary, and it was Oxley's Mental and Ferryview. This person is not a parent and this person is not a parent. She's an abuser. My dad been involved because my dad, my mum and dad separated. Had my dad been involved, had my dad been here at the hospital, he would have vouched for me, and he would have defended me and defended his children and said, I came here in the UK and I'm not going to have any of my child detained at any NHS or any mental ward, because that is not what my family is. That's not my Akinola, and that is definitely not my third daughter, Adebisi Rosemary Akinola. She's a bright child. Yes, there are issues within the family. Yes, there's a lot of dysfunction in the family. Yes, there's even abuse in the family. But having a child detained under a mental health ward with no supervision by a parent, and you just going off your way and going home and going to bed whilst your child is in a mental ward, that's not anything that any of my teachers, my community, my church leaders, my friends around the area, that's not anything, my neighbours, that's not anything they would have ever expected of me and have seen in me. My secondary school, even my friends at school, the people that I know in the different classrooms in the different years, the people that I went to in college, they would never ever, Christ the King College, Orpington College, they would never ever think that Adebisi Rosemary Akinola was detained at a mental health ward for 6 weeks with no friend, no one coming here to see her, with just my mum and my autistic sister TT, who were pretending to be carers and making sure I'm kept detained here and kept under drugs. I was on aripiprazole for 2 years. I was having injections from July 2020 once every month. So a nurse will come in every month to her house and inject me when I didn't need injection. What I needed was help. I was crying for help. I should have ran away. I should have gone social housing. There's so many things that people who are abused say they should have, would have, do that, they would have done it. But when you're in the situation, it's almost impossible. It's it's extremely very hard. And my psychology was changing because my sister and my mum basically ruled that house, and they are both sick. So when I should have been, in my 30s with my partner, my boyfriend, pregnant, getting married, getting ready for marriage, engaged, going to my friends' weddings, going on holiday with my boyfriend, being my boyfriend, my mum was ensuring that I was detained at a mental ward and taking me back and forth. And not once did she click and say, you know what, you need a house of your own. You need to be independent. I'm going to help you to drive. I'm going to take you to the driving center. I'm going to teach you about buying a car. I'm going to help you find out what car you need, what the tank is, what the fuel is, what the wheel looks like, what the gears look like. I'm going to help you deal with estate agents. I'm going to help you look at estate agents, how to talk to estate agents, what deposits you need to pay, what you need to pay. Are you renting? Are you buying? If you're renting, what to do if you still want to buy, all of these things. She didn't encourage me. I was saving. She wasn't thinking, what are my children, what my children do with their savings? That's fantastic that you're saving. Right, let me get myself into gear. If I don't know something, I know an uncle at church that is really, really intelligent, that's really business savvy, that's really life savvy, who's going to help me and help my children. Not once in 2 decades, in 20 years, we moved in Thamesmead in 2007, did she do that? So she's a purposeful abuser, because this is abuse with intent. She had an intent to abuse me, to keep me abusing me, and she wanted me dead. I don't like saying it. I don't like saying it, but it's true. She's someone who practiced all these sacrificial Nigerian killings, and she wanted to kill me. She wanted to seriously injure me. From when I was younger, I've got a scalp injury on my scalp, which I have pictures of, scalp injury, which she used to dig combs into my scalp and dig combs into my crown because I was not the son that she wanted, even though she was expecting a son, and because I look like my dad, and she thinks my dad is cruel. She thinks my dad is evil and ugly, and she had all these comments about being dark-skinned when I was younger, and in the same breath, she still wants my dad. She's a criminal. She's a criminal, and that's why I've come here on the 1st of Tuesday, the 1st of July, to share this video and to showcase this video, that this is what attains. This is not where anybody who has, trauma, childhood trauma, childhood abuse should be. This is for the serious people who are really, really mentally deranged or unwell, who are not able to even look after themselves. I had a working job. I was earning 45,000 as an account manager. I was working in corporate. So I was working, but at the same time, I was blind to my own mental health and to my own needs. And I needed someone to look at my life and say, what do you actually do, Rosemary, other than work and go and see friends now and then at restaurants? What do you actually own? What memories do you have? What pictures do you have? Where are your childhood pictures? Where are your teenage years pictures? Where are your college pictures? You're so obsessed with making sure you have enough money. But the reason why you're so obsessed with making sure you have enough money is because you haven't had a parent since you've been born. You haven't had proper parents. You haven't even had family sisters who've given you £5, £10, £20, who've given you money, who have shared their hair care with you, who've given you shampoo, who've given you cream and gels, who've given you combs, who've given you weaves and makeups. You haven't had that in your whole life. Everybody works as an individual island, and it's strange. In my whole life, my sisters have never thought, oh Bissy, let me give you this, let me give you that, let me give you my makeup, let me give you this, let me give you this top, or let me buy you this, let me buy that. We're a family that doesn't give presents, gifts, that barely celebrates that doesn't celebrate Christmas by giving gifts or giving presents. My mum is strange as well. She should be governing. She should be mothering. She should be doing her child as the second parent, as the mother, and making sure that there's a family unit involved. There's no unit. There's no unit. There's people who are desperately lonely, desperately clinging on to each other because they have no other thing. My sister still comes to the house every week to speak to my mum. She's older than me. She's 37. Instead of her to have a boyfriend and her own friends and partners, she comes to my mum's house to talk. My mum's house is deteriorating, and there's nothing between them other than they're both desperately lonely. There's no real unison in my family. It's just, let's go to mum's house for Christmas because there's nothing else. There's nowhere else we can go. It's just a shelter it's just a roof over our head. It's raining, so we have a roof over our head. But there's no unison. There's no home. There's no integrity in the home. So that's, yeah. So that's, yeah, part of what I wanted to share. It's really hard to share this because this is information that a lot of my friends are not going to be expecting to hear, because they see me and they just make assumptions and think they see a competent, happy person. But for a long time I've been very, very unhappy, and I've been wearing this guise because I'm an abuse victim, and when people are abused, they don't know what's normal half the time. A lot of the time they're missing things, or they're worried about other problems, and it's problems that should be solved by social services.